It's review time in the world of tanks, and I'm your host, Dangerously Incompetent. Today we're having a closer look at Randy, or the T67 as those pencil pushers back in the depot like to call it. They also like to designate it the USA's Tier 5 tank destroyer. And here we are, is in all his glory. Open top so you can see right in, and those high explosive shells from the artillery can just drop straight in, set off the ammunition. A treat. Lovely. Let's start with the armour. Ha 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 ha. Let's have a look at the armour from the front. Ah ha 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 ha. Side. Ah ha ha ho 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 ho. Rear. Even the mantlet. You're having a laugh. Yeah, 12mm all round, 25 on the mantlet. Your armour is not stopping anything, bar the very odd ricochet, and the occasional track shot. Anytime you get hit, you're going to get penetrated. In fact, it's so weak. If you're a Tier 5 or above vehicle shooting at a T67, you want to be using high explosive, because there's a very good probability you're going to penetrate and do mucho damage when your round explodes within the tank. For instance, if you're a T67 and you see another T67, use your high explosive, because its average penetration is 38mm, while that goes through 12mm quite handily. So yes, armour, not very good at all. Mobility, now we're getting somewhere. Here we are. Mobility, that's looking a lot better. It is fast, and it has a good power to weight ratio, so it accelerates quickly and it goes up hills quite nicely. But top speed 61 kilometers an hour, 20 kilometers an hour backwards. That's about as high as you get, apart from the very odd tank that gets to go even faster. But then it's not so good. Track traverse is poor, not very good at all. And what's even worse is the turret. The turret turns even more slowly, which is really painful at times. When you're trying to do a circle of death, your turning circle is huge, and even then your turret can't keep up sometimes, so you have to either stop or reverse and hope you're still ahead of their turning turret in order to get your gun to bear. And as for dogfighting, yeah, forget it. Between the slow track traverse and the even slower turret traverse, dogfighting, you can't get your gun to people, whereas they can get their gun to you and bang 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 bang. They just have to hit you because you got no armour. So yeah, don't mix it up in melee with this thing. Really, you really do not want to do that. Gun, that's also good. Where's the gun? Gun. Firepower. Here we go. This is the Top Gun. Average damage a bit on the low side, so it's a smaller caliber weapon, but penetration great, rate of fire awesome. I've mentioned the turret traverse as being awful. Gun depression minus 10% is pretty good. 20% elevation is not so good, but it's not awful. With the 10% you might be tempted to go, oh, I'll go fight the crest. Yeah, be on the back slope of a hill and tip your tank back and only show that. If you do show your hull, it's really slopey and you're only showing your mantlet. Yeah, no. If people have got time to aim at you so they hit you, they'll go straight through. 25mm here, that's nothing. So fighting crest, no, even despite the gun depression. But it is worthwhile being on the backside of a hill because you hide the hull of your tank. So if you're only showing like your turret, there's a lot less of you to hit. It's less likely they're going to hit you, especially if they're shooting from a long way away. So 10 degrees of gun depression is good to have. Aim time, this is enhanced aim time, but the aim time is good, very good. Dispersion, this has also been enhanced by my stuff, but dispersion isn't so good. Your initial aim is poor. Your gunner doesn't like being rushed. If you rush him and just snapshot at things, you'll find he's either taken up grouse shooting and shoots in the air, or he's taken up farming and ploughs his shots into the ground. Because the dispersion is not good for a tank destroyer. It's not good, the initial stuff, but with a short aiming time, once it's aimed in, the aim is pretty good, and you can happily use it at extreme range and expect to hit the target most of the time. So no snapshots unless they're really, really close, which is bad news for you because you've got poor maneuverability and no armour. Also, bear in mind this is quite a light tank, which helps its power to weight ratio, and it goes quite fast. It doesn't have vertical stabilisers, so when you're pelting along at full tilt, your hull's going this, and the turret is doing this, and the gun barrel is doing this. So it can be really hard to hit things when you're on the run, unless, as I said before, you're right up close to that side of that OI experimental, in which case you can hardly miss. Camouflage. Where's the camouflage rating? Dun, dun, dun. Concealment. These are enhanced values. Don't pay too much attention to them. Can we get different value? Vehicle details. Concealment 27. 7. No, those are enhanced values as well. Boo. Right. Okay. Concealment is good. There are better concealment TDs at tier 5, but it is good. And when you join that with a good gun, and view range, which we'll come on to into a second. Well, no, let's do it now. View range, this is enhanced again, is good. It's an open-topped tank destroyer, so it's got good. It's in the upper ranks of the view range. But again, there are a few better, if I remember rightly. We'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at the comparisons later, but it is good, and it's definitely worth using. Let's mention something in conjunction. The concealment and the spotting and the speed, rather than the maneuverability. Your speed enable you to actually go spotting. You can do light tank duties. You can spot in this thing, and given you're a tier 5 vehicle, you'll be in battles with plenty of noobs, and there'll be plenty of times when they won't spot for you, either because they're incapable, because they're a tier 3 light tank and they don't go very fast and they don't have a good view range, or because they're a new player and they don't want to go spotting, or they're would-be unicum and don't want to go spotting. So you can spot if you need to. You use your speed to get into that forward bush, then use your concealment to stay there, and your decent view range to spot what's coming. By the time if it gets too close, you run away. And with your gun, decent accuracy over range, so you can shoot at a distance and expect to hit, and a high rate of fire, even if you're spotting for yourself, so you're close behind that bush and it's visible, it's transparent in sniper view mode, you can roll back so the bush is no longer transparent, so that when you fire your gun, you don't blow all the cover away from that bush, so you still get that bush's concealment, even though your own concealment drops hugely. So you can shoot and not be seen, having spotted the enemy tank, and you'll get one shot in when you can see the enemy tank, and then if you're the only one spotting him, by the time you've got a second shot, it'll just to stop being drawn, so you've got a blind shot, but you know pretty much where he is, and then you can pull back to the bush, spot him again, and repeat. Its camo is that good, its view range is that good, and its rate of fire is that good. Any other stats we should be talking about? We've done the firepower with the aiming time and the dispersion. Yeah, DPM is very high because of the high rate of fire, and but you will need to you wouldn't hit that in practice because you really do need to aim in because the initial dispersion is poor. So for any distance shooting, you want to aim. You want to take the time and aim all the way in. Give your gunner plenty of time. Relax, take your time, gunner. Get the shot in. So you won't hit that, but it's still a very good rate DPM. If you're sitting in a bush, someone else has spotted an enemy tank to you, you can blaze away and you can really hurt people, even tier 7s. We've done the armor. Hit points is low. Yeah. Spotting concealment. Yeah. Skills. What skills should you have with the tank? Over here we have the crew. Oh, I mentioned the crew. They get everyone. Gets the commander, gunner, driver, radio operator, loader. Gets everyone. So you can I actually used this first time round as a training tank. I trained my crew at it. I didn't have a premium like I do now. I got the T56E4 Super Pershing, so I use that for training crew. But initially, I used this for training crew because it's a good tank and it's got all the crew. So, what skills should you get? Well, you should get to 100%, obviously, and then you should get camouflage. Camouflage. Because with 100% crew and 100% camouflage, this thing becomes very hard to see at all. Indeed. And then you can use your gun to full effect without being seen, which is great. Next skill should be where is it? Sixth Sense, because sooner or later you will get spotted as the enemy move towards you. Where have we got to? Oh no, I was going to do skills. Where we are, and then Brothers in Arms. It's a bit of a toss-up because where's the driver gone? Because of the poor traverse, you really want clutch braking, and you also want the off-road, I reckon. And then on the gunner, here we are, you really want snapshot and smooth ride to reduce that the initial dispersion, the initial poor dispersion. You want to improve that. So it's a bit of a toss-up whether you have Brothers in Arms. Well, actually, not really. If you got your camo, and then you start doing your Sixth Sense, you might as well have snapshot and then clutch braking or smooth ride. What am I talking about? Smooth rides on the gunner, and then do Brothers in Arms afterwards. That would be my recommendation. Yeah, camo, Sixth Sense, snapshot or smooth ride, clutch braking, and then Brothers in Arms. I've been rejigged. These people have been in all sorts of tanks, and I've rejigged their skills a number of times, so they're all over the place. Equipment. Dun, dun, dun. What should you have as the equipment? You should have camo net. Absolutely must be positively. Have the camo net. Helps you spotting, helps you sniping. Marvellous. You should also have either coated optics or binoculars. Remember, the binoculars only work when you're stationary. So when you're running around, getting to that bush, if you're doing forward spotting, it can be dicey as to whether you've been seen or not, or and whether you're going to see people. You remember, your Sixth Sense only goes off a few seconds after you've been spotted. So if you get spotted, get into the bush, and then sit stationary, you're seeing duck, and then your Sixth Sense goes off probably after the first shots arrived. But if you see the enemy before that, yeah, so that's why I went with coated optics rather than binoculars, but either is good. I mean, if you don't have the money for coated optics and you're short on cash, then yeah, definitely the binoculars, because they're free to remove. You can pull them out and in and out and put them in other tanks, and it doesn't cost you anything. And then the third one, I would go for the gun rammer. not the gun rammer. What am I talking about? That's not a gun rammer. You might want to put the gun rammer in and up that DPM even more, but I would say the enhanced gun laying drive is the better thing to go for because it gets that aiming time down and to get past that initial poor dispersion. What do I run with the old consumables? I put the large ones in, large repair kit, large first aid, and usually large fire extinguisher. I have been running with the case of cola, which is the premium, so it costs 20,000 if you buy it, 20,000 credits normally. I tend to bulk buy them in the hundreds when there's a sale on for 10,000 a time, because I put that in because it doesn't really need it, but it all helps. And I've been doing the T25 pilot missions, in which case you need to be top 3 by damage or by experience for 10 battles. You want every bit of help you can get really when you're trying to do that. Be aware though, if you're going to run with cola, or indeed might want to try the gasoline to increase your turret traverse and your speed and acceleration even further to ludicrous levels. If you run with a premium, you're going to make a loss credit wise if you're buying them for regular credits. If you're buying them at sale prices at 10,000 credits a time, then you'll bump along making not a lot of money. Possibly a loss, possibly a gain in credits wise if you run with that. Ammunition, mostly armor piercing. It's got good penetration, so you don't really need APCR, but I run about a quarter AP premium munitions, because when you get to tier 7 heavies, they've got quite a lot of armor, even in the side, and at a distance the AP starts not hacking it all the time. And you really want to make sure, And then just in case you find your opposite number or another soft-skinned, well, not soft-skinned vehicle, but very lightly armoured, HE, as I mentioned before, your own HE will penetrate your armour, and if you penetrate someone's armour and with HE and it goes boom inside the tank, mucho damage. So that's equipment, we've done skills, free XP. Let's have a look at the research, shall we? Right, you start off with a Diddy gun. It's actually not a bad gun at all. It's incredible rate of fire, better dispersion. Was it better dispersion? Yes, better dispersion than the top gun, but not quite as much penetration and chunk less damage, a quarter less damage. But all in all, it's a decent gun. So when you're buying, spending your free XP, your gun isn't actually the priority. I would say the priority, you want to improve your tracks first. Let's have a look. Traverse of 30, traverse of 32. Yep, you want your tracks first, then your engine, get that speed up. Let's see, 460 horsepower as it goes to 330. Yep. Tracks and engine, that would be my minimum free XP spend for me, because the gun's decent, the turret's all right. These will make a big improvement over stock. These two, well worth the free XP in my opinion. And then after that, then I would go improve the turret and get to this gun. Don't bother with this gun. Go to the top gun, and then finally get the radio. Let's have a look at compare it with, where's the compare button gone? There we go. 7 to compare. Let's have a look at its not compatriots, but other tier 5s. Bear in mind that I've put all these as fully researched with 100% crew, as opposed to some of them which I've got in my garage with more than 100% crew, which would throw our comparisons off. So firepower, it's up there, not the best, not the top, but it's pretty much up there, and that's because, let's see, average damage per shot is all right. Su-85 does better, and the Su-85 does better on penetration as well, as does the Stug. The Wolverine's got the same gun, which the Wolverine's the other Tier 5 American tank destroyer. Rate of fire, yep, very good. Very, very good, especially if you compare it to the Derpathons of the LK-103. Huge damage, low rate of fire. Gun traverse. Oh yeah, but these, yeah, these have gun. No turret, no turret, no turret. Turret traverse speed, compared to the Chaffee, is absolutely abysmal. But it's actually better than the Wolverine, but worse than the Panzer T-25. Why have I included Panzer T-25? That's not a tank destroyer. It's a medium. I include it because it has similar-ish characteristics. It's very fast, doesn't turn very well, and it's got a very nice gun. Where we go? Gun depression is good. The elevation is not so good. Aim time is good. Well, it's a smaller caliber gun, isn't it? Right. So the Chaffee takes even longer to aim, even though it's got a smaller gun. Who'd have thunk it? Faster than those because they've got big guns. Yep, faster than aiming. Right. And the dispersion. Here we see not so good compared to against the TDs. It's worse, considerably worse. It's even worse than the Russian. And the Russians are notorious for bad aim time, badly inaccurate. Barely better than the Derpy gun. What's his caliber? I didn't say it here, but yeah, it's a big caliber gun, but it's not much worse than the T67. That's where the T67 really got nerfed, if I remember rightly, in the initial accuracy. And the DPM is higher than everyone, apart from Wolverine's got the same gun. Armour, as you can see, the Chaffee's got better armour. That's right, the light tank has more armour than you. And especially when you come up against like the Stug, which is an assault gun, as opposed to it's an assault gun. It's designed for assaulting emplaced guns, as opposed to designed specifically for destroying tanks. So he's got 80 mils of armour on the front. You've got at most 25, and that's just on your mantlet. Everyone's got more armour than you. Mobility. Chaffee's better, and then everyone else is a bit worse, primarily because of the speed. But let's have a look. The traverse speed. Yeah, it can feel Chaffee way better. Wolverine's a bit worse. Everyone else is better or comparable, apart from the T25, which is a bit worse, which really stinks for a medium. Concealment is pretty good. Concealment stationary, but it's actually worse than these turretless tank destroyers, especially the LKV. The LKV isn't that small. Why is it so good? Anyway. And remember, when you move, you're in a TD, so you get half of your stationary concealment, whereas the Chaffee keeps all its concealment and goes, no one can see me. View range, See, it's in the top half because it's not as good as a light tank, but in the top end of the tank destroyers, because it's an open top vehicle. The Wolverine does better, Stug does worse, Su does even worse, the LKV does the same. Yeah, I think the LKV 103 is suffering from that new tank line overstatted to get you to go play the new tank line. I expect it will get nerfed in the near future, in the next couple of months. Watch all those stats go down. That's a pattern Wargame have done time and time again, and it's purely to encourage you to get in there and get your win rate really quickly. You got to go up those tiers really quickly, so you'll spend the money to train your crew and earn experience. I don't like that. So that's the comparison on numbers. In rough terms, compared to the Chaffee, is way more manoeuvrable. It's a turn on a sixpence sort of thing. But the T67 beats it on the gun. Wolverine has got a bit of armour. He doesn't have much armour. Doesn't have enough armour. I'd say the Wolverine's worse. Stug has the edge on accuracy. Better concealment. Is a better sniper, but it can't go spotting. It's nowhere near faster. Same for the Su-85. Su-85 is nice. I like both the Stug and the Su-85 because of the amount of damage they can kick out, and the accuracy and the penetration of their guns is good. So they're both good snipers, but not as versatile as the T67. LKV-103 is a derpy gun. Derpy. And the Panzer T25 actually struggles a bit compared to the T67. It's so tall, it gets seen all the time, but it does have some armour to compensate for that. Yeah. You chooses your playstyle and you chooses your class. I was comparing them. How to play this vehicle. Yeah, well, you can see all my other videos for more in-depth analysis on how to play the T67. But as a rough guide, especially when you're starting playing, snipe, because your camouflage is good and your range in it. You can shoot at a distance. You're accurate enough if you aim in. Important that. Then once you're a bit more comfortable, learn to spot. You can spot when no one else is doing it, or when they're incapable of doing it, or no one else wants to do it, or they're all dead. So you can rush in, get to the bush, do the spotting, even shoot from the bush if you're careful. But when the enemy get close, you should run away. Well, before they spot you, you should run away and find another position to shoot from and repeat. You should not dogfight in this tank because snapshotting is awful. Your initial accuracy is poor. Your turret and your track traverse is awful. So you can't get your gun to them as they're weaving around. Panzer 1C or a Lux can just run circles around you, and there's nothing you can do. And they can machine gun through your weak armour. Few hit points, no armour. Do not dogfight in this tank. And correspondingly, you shouldn't be in the front line either. Even hiding behind buildings and the big heavy tanks, and then just popping out and going bang. Because once you've done that a couple of times, the enemy will load high explosive, wait for you to pop out, and blat, and they'll just need to get near you, and they'll do plenty of damage, and you don't have many hits, and you won't last long. You're much better off in the second line, unless you're spotting, in which case you run away when the enemy get close. That's how you should play this tank. How did I do in the tank? Well, I did pretty well. I've done pretty well in the past in it when I first started this play, but back then it hadn't been hit by the nerf back, and it was even more powerful. And I've been playing it quite heavily since I just got for the T25 pilot missions, and I got to where'd it go? About 57%. Where has it gone? I wrote it down. Yeah, got 57% over 200 odd battles, and that's given that I haven't played World of Tanks for months until I got back into it and picked up the T67, and that's why I picked the T67 to play heavily to start with, is to get back into the swing of things with an easy tank to play, a good tank. And if you look at something like Noob Meter, you can see that everyone overall, over the past couple of months, people's win rate with it, the average win rate with it, is 51.14%, which is above average. So it looks like it's a powerful tank for its tier. In summary, I like this tank, this vehicle. It's not a tank, it's a tank destroyer, or gun carriage as they called it. That's the USA Army called it. Anyway, it's a good tank, and it gets the Dangerously Incompetent thumbs up. It's powerful for its tier. It used to be overpowered, but then it got hit by the nerf back. Nerf bat. It got nerfed, and now it's merely powerful. If your enemy let you play in your niche of sniping and running away and never being seen, it is very powerful. And I highly recommend you get this tank. And if you're looking for your first tier 5 tank destroyer, you can't do any better really. I thoroughly recommend it. Dangerously Incompetent. Thumbs up!